Further debate? I recognize the member from Scarborough-Guildwood.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'm pleased to rise in the House today to debate Bill 204. I believe that it is an important piece of legislation that does offer some measures to help Ontarians. Ultimately, the government is offering too little, too late. If this bill passes, the moratorium on commercial evictions would be extended by just a mere days, when businesses certainly that we're hearing from are asking for more time. So this is not enough time, and it's not enough support for small businesses. You know, for much of the summer, I've spent at the Committee on Finance and Economic Affairs listening to businesses across the province, across many sectors, and independent operators. And no one expected that this pandemic would have lasted as long as it has, and is taking such a devastating toll on Ontario's businesses and our economy. You know, there is a fear among small businesses, particularly on main streets across this province, that they won't be able to hang on much longer. Small businesses in Ontario need support, and they need a government that understands that the supports that they need to arrive before they close their doors. This proposed extension is really just a Band-Aid, and it's not what the vast majority of small businesses need or want. Just yesterday, I heard about Laser Quest, you know, this very iconic business that spread into North America, based in Mississauga, and they just simply could not hold on. They could not cope with the effects of the pandemic, so they are shutting down. We know that Ontarians still have precarious finances. The CERB program is winding down, and many small businesses are closed or will close their doors permanently. You know, in Scarborough, I heard about the Wexford Diner, an iconic location in Scarborough, just decided like they can't sustain it and is closing. So many sectors, such as tourism, travel, hospitality, have not been able to resume operations because of the pandemic and have lost this season in 2020. We know that youth remain financially precarious, particularly students who have lost the opportunity for summer employment, yet they still owe full tuition should they wish to continue their studies, as well as rent. This recession is different, as I said, from others that we have experienced in modern history, and a full recovery will require more supports than is being offered here in Bill 204, and really in terms of the government's measures and responses to this to date. Bill 204 is a thin attempt to provide economic relief to Ontarians. It doesn't scratch the surface of issues facing women, and with Black, Indigenous, and people of colour who are facing a devastating effect as a result of this pandemic. These Ontarians are disproportionately affected by the economic impacts of COVID-19. The last 3 Statistics Canada labour force surveys have emphasized the consistent trend that job recovery for COVID-19 related employment losses are having. In fact, the recovery is more advanced among men than women, despite the fact that women have been hit much harder. Unemployment is persisting at significant high levels amongst Black, Indigenous, and Ontarians of colour. Ontario is at a crossroads, and decades of progress towards gender equality in the workplace are at risk. Reports from the Ontario Chamber of Commerce and submissions from the Canadian Women Chamber of Commerce to the Finance Committee warns that we are perilously close to reversing the gains made by women in the workplace. This would be a devastating result of the pandemic that we can't allow to occur. We need women to continue to be part of the economic productivity of Ontario, and there really cannot be a full recovery that leaves women behind. Without a she-covery, there cannot be long-term economic recovery. And we need more we need more from this government to move forward. including investments in education to make schools and childcare safe and realistic options for families. The government also needs to take a forward-looking approach and make investments in education, reskilling, and entrepreneurship programs for women to be able to adapt to the changing economy and to help drive growth. Indigenous and Black businesses have also reported facing additional barriers to receiving essential supports and emergency relief funding. Government policy and programs often overlook the needs of Black and Indigenous businesses. For example, excluding home-based businesses from digital Main Street platforms by making the eligibility criteria tied to having a retail storefront. In yesterday's speech from the throne, the federal government announced their commitment to take action to address the she-cession, or the she-covery. They acknowledge that women, Black, Indigenous, people of color, and young people have seen the highest levels of job losses, and I'm calling on the Premier to do the same for Ontarians, to develop an action plan for women, for Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and to consult on a diverse table with experts to make Ontario's response equitable. The message from small businesses across the province has been clear. They need tax relief, cash flow support, and they need a government that will implement policies to control COVID-19 so that we don't go into further shutdown and that we boost consumer and business confidence. For small businesses that are suffering, they have not seen their revenues return. Even though many of them have reopened their doors, the customers just have not come back. And they have not seen meaningful support from this provincial government. And this measure that we're putting forward, these measures being put forward today, they don't go nearly far enough. As it stands today, small businesses will have to repay their deferred taxes by October the 1st, or else incur interest and penalties. That does not leave a lot of time for businesses to get their cash flow in order, and some businesses will have no choice but to close their doors, as they will not be able to take on even more debt when their sales and cash flow have not returned to normal. I've called on this legislature time and time again for the government to extend the deferral period for provincial taxes, including payroll taxes, WSIB, and provide a multi-year repayment plan with options for forgiveness. Ontario's small businesses are still extremely vulnerable. They have not yet had time that they need to rebuild and to recover. The province needs to do more to provide liquidity and support. The commercial evictions moratorium is a low-effort response to a problem that has festered, and as a result of the government's inaction and dragging its feet. The economic impacts of the COVID-19 have been more profound than could have been initially anticipated. We get that. The government must adjust course to respond to the immediate and the urgent needs of the province. The federal government has stepped up and is funding 97% of Ontario's response to COVID-19, with the Ontario government funding just 3% of Ontario's measures. The province can and should do more. The FAO has estimated that the province has a further $6.7 billion in unallocated funds that are available to be directed to new measures, including $3.5 billion in cash transfers from the federal government that have yet to be allocated by the province to specific measures. Why are you hoarding this cash? The government should be putting this money to good use instead of taking a passive, cheapened approach that we see in Bill 204. As we have seen in yesterday's public accounts, the PCs inherited a strong economy from the Liberals with increasing revenues from all sources. They have squandered it. You have squandered that opportunity and have not stepped up to make the necessary investments during this pandemic. No meaningful investments for a safe return to school. We know that. We see that every day by the rising numbers of infections in our schools and closure of classrooms and schools across this province. No strengthening of our long-term care facilities, even though you know that the fall and the flu season is coming. To prepare for a second wave, no second wave plan, despite receiving billions of dollars from the federal government in the summer. Yes, Bill 204 does have certain measures like the rent freeze, which we have been calling for quite some time. In fact,
I'm sorry to interrupt the member. It being 10:15, it is time for member statements.